Welcome yet again to another exciting episode of Coding with Scott. Today we're going to, maybe it's not that exciting, I don't know. Today what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple additional concepts that are really helpful and will extend what we're doing beyond just our computer and local information. We're going to pull data from other sources online, and we'll be able to process that and do something with it. So we're going to start out with a little bit of a discussion about these things. There'll be a few different videos in this series. The main idea here is when we're working with information, we're working with things that are called APIs, Application Programming Interfaces. And APIs are something that are available in multiple different computer type things. APIs that we're going to use are primarily for pulling data sources down, but they're access points to other bits of information. Really what it is, it's like you can think of it as like making a request for a web page and then getting information back that gets rendered on screen, right? Specifically, what we're going to be dealing with are APIs that return a kind of data called JSON. JSON is also JavaScript object notation. It's a hierarchical way of describing data that is really built specifically for JavaScript. And talking about JavaScript objects, not like classes like we've been talking about, or descendants of classes as objects, but there's a specific thing called a JavaScript object, and that's what JSON is. And we'll look at how we'll look at one of these in just a minute. JSON is native to JavaScript, so it becomes really easy to parse through and manipulate. Everything is accessed through that dot notation that we've seen in other objects when we were working with objects and classes in the last week. This particular example, what I'm going to show you is it's dynamic. It changes, right? Doesn't change very frequently. But it's something that I think is nerdy cool. So there's an API called OpenNotify, and it's an open source project to provide a programming interface for some data that NASA provides. This person has taken some of the raw data and turned it into APIs related to space and spacecraft. The three that they have available, there's the current location of the International Space Station, or the ISS. So we'll just zoom in a little bit there. So you can see it's reporting its latitude and longitude here. The overhead pass prediction for the ISS, so if you gave the API a latitude and longitude, it would tell you the time and date that the space station would pass over. And then this is the one that we'll use right now, is the number of people in space. So every time somebody goes up or splashes down, this updates, and it provides more than just a value of how many. It also gives you a little bit more information, like their names and what craft they're on. I'm going to click on this, and we'll see a lot of APIs have a page like this, API docs that describe what the API returns when you request it. Here it says is the overview. It returns the number of people in space. When known, it returns also the names and spacecraft those people are on. It takes no input. So there's no arguments that you can pass to the API. We'll look at some that do take arguments later. So this is the API URL. This is the actual access to it. And when we click on it, we can see this is a parsed API, or a parsed JSON file. This is a raw JSON file. I've got a plugin in my browser that lets me switch back and forth between the two. I think Firefox does this automatically for you. I'll zoom in here for you. This is it raw, and then this is what it's like parsed. And when you parse it, it looks a little bit more readable, and you can see that there's curly braces here. So just like we have in JavaScript. And then we've got these things that are called key value pairs. So the key is whatever's on the left-hand side that describes what the thing is. And then the value is on the right-hand side, and it's describing how many or what or whatever that is, right? So here we can see we've got a couple key value pairs, number. Then there's this one people, and inside of people there's, you can tell by these square braces that it's an array. But inside of that array, there's 3 elements. One is craft and name, then craft and name and craft and name, right? So we'll talk about how to access this in a minute. Then there's this last one, message success. So the 3 key value pairs in here are number, people, and message. So 3 people, this is who the people are, and then this message was successful in retrieving it. So what we're going to do is we're going to, in this example, is we're going to parse through the people, and we're going to print out their names. And they're pretty straightforward. So you can see when I access this through a browser, it just displays this and renders it on the page. There's a little bit of a hiccup when we want to do this directly in P5.js or JavaScript in general, and I'll explain that in the next video. For this one, I just want to sort of leave it right here, explaining what JSON is, how it's organized. All of this right here could be imported into P5 sketch and actually used as a variable, right? We could say let JSON equal to. That's actually a valid. This is a valid JSON object, right? This is a valid object here in JavaScript. So if we ran this, it would be like, that's fine. And if we asked, we did console log JSON, and we printed it out, when we ran it, you can see right here, it identifies it as an object. And the object is laid out in the same way. Number, people, message, success, right? So now you can see this is how P5 understands it. Now what we'll do is we'll look on how you can dynamically import this into your sketch, and we'll do that in the next video.